Hey guys, everyone, welcome to the new episode. And this episode is going to be special because this is focused on Verify My Agents by one of my favorite ecosystem projects in this stream. We have Ian from Gaia, and we have Shonik from Mira, Prashant from Sferon, and me, who's from Sferon. So, every community member of you is asking, when TGE, guys? I'm just kidding. I'm literally kidding. I told you this is gonna be a fun stream. But whenever I was just exploring everybody's ecosystem, and everybody's like, when TG, when TG, and I'm like, okay, let's just put this to the simmer. And but this topic is very interesting, verifying agents, right? Because the whole agentic stream has just picked up very quickly. And what is fun is that Web 2 has also picked up at the similar speed. Like, there were people who were doing this for a long amount of time, and now this whole narrative has joined with Web 2 and Web 3 as well. But one of the biggest issues everybody is facing right now is to verify what these agents are consuming in terms of data and providing the input, which is like, because you see that there is a lot of DeFi AI agents, and these are important financial instruments for most of the people, and people are relying their hard-earned money on that. So how do you think, and this is an open space, honestly, like I would not say that any point outlet you should speak about. You can definitely feel free to chime in on this. But what do you guys feel like? How does the verification works around it? And what's your viewpoint on this whole AI agent space and narrative which has picked up? And just not narrative, tech as well.
Um, sure.
Anyone can
I
go.
can. Yeah, sure. I can kick things off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Prakash, you were right to point out, right? A lot of momentum being pushed into the whole LLMs as well as the AI agentic space. I think a key aspect of moving this agentic framework forward has been, in some sense, building orchestration around it so that agents can also talk to each other and, the output of one agent becomes the input of the other agent, right? And hence, and we already know that LLMs are known to hallucinate. So here, it's very important for us to make sure that the output, whether it's the final output of any model that we might be using in the backend, or even the output that the agent might be using, which becomes the input of the other agent, remains fairly accurate. And that's where I think a huge chunk of verifiability really comes in, where you need to make sure that the accuracy is maintained, and you can always kind of improve things as you go along by building on better guardrails.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I'm
Oh yeah, sure. I think I 100% agree. I think verifiability comes in a couple of different touch points, right? So one is the knowledge. What data are you training it on? So I think the quality of the data. Secondly is how the model. How do you verify how the model is being designed? Say for example, I'm seeing. Do you actually have control on how you design your pipeline? Do you actually understand what goes behind the black box? Or how do you verify, authenticate everything is trustworthy enough? And lastly, the output, like how do you know if, say, in future agent to agent conversations, how do you actually verify that the agent output on the other end is actually coming up with verified data or verified proof, right? So there's a couple of different points. So I think with that, that's the whole reason why I think for me, at least personally, and that's why I'm with Gaia as well, is that I feel that within the AI space, decentralization is the only way to go. Because centralized AI fundamentally market wise or organization wise, it doesn't make sense for them to make everything transparent. Like for example, OpenAI, for example, and that doesn't make sense, right? To make it transparent and verifiable. In terms of how it should exist, definitely, I feel that AI, the only way it can exist and should exist is in decentralized form.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with these models increasing in complexity with more billions of more parameters being added. The complexity itself requires a high element of just verification at each of the points I mentioned, from the
but
training models
verifying
to the output.
everything, like, don't you think, like, as compute wise, or as in terms of latency, or even if we do it in batches, or like, for me as a person who looks from a third POV, how does verification looks like because I feel that if we tend on to verify most of these things, like wouldn't it increase the amount of time, and wouldn't it increase the amount of like that's something which I personally feel, but you guys can definitely add more onto it and definitely put me into right direction. Like that's what I think. Like like if you are streaming out a set of data and which is not verified, would verifiability increase the latency to it, or like how does that work? Like, and if yes, how are we making sure like that doesn't happen on scale? Like if, for example, if today, like yesterday, we saw like Google did bunch of stuff on Google I/O, and they said like Stitch and everything is coming together, and all of that stuff is pretty interesting. Now, if I add verification to it, like wouldn't it be slow? Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's exactly my point earlier, right? Because if you centralize everything, then the incentive to increase the complexity of it decreases, right? Because you're all talking about efficiency, costing, economics, right? That's why if you decentralize, then what we need is a reward structure, like for example in Gaia, where you actually reward different components to be built by different people, right? So it's very similar to, say, for example, I think it has to happen at the edge, where those verifying process will have to be done at the peripheral before it actually comes into the ecosystem, into the network. Which is why, again, why I believe that you have to use blockchain and to kind of decentralize the reward structure to incentivize people to do so.
Yeah, and the Prakash, the way that we also kind of think about it is that a lot of the LLMs existing today, whether it's ChatGPT or Anthropic's model, right? These are also known to be general language models. So they have filled themselves up with a lot of information from across the web, from across different mediums of information. And at least going forward, our belief is that there are also going to be more specialized model, right? Like you can go to Hugging Face today and you will see hundreds of models already existing there. And in these specialized models, uh, especially these specialized models are going to be used for high stakes use cases, whether it's in industries like financial services or healthcare, right? And I think a lot of the initial protocols of verification need to start with these smaller models for individual industries, because of course you have the general models which will, like Ian said, have no incentive to explain themselves or verify the information. But going forward, verification is almost like jury duty at the layer of output, right? Like you have to check the facts and make sure. And this is something that we're working towards, is that how can we add that verification layer to the generated outputs while also maintaining the latency of the outputs, right? And those are, say, engineering problems to solve at this point of time. But yeah, I think verification across different newer models and very specific models becomes a great point to start rather than starting at a general model level.
Yeah, but
But like who?
to quickly jump in. I mean, this is not an issue just about AI or within our space. Even today, outside of AI, right now today, verifiability is also an issue for our day-to-day life as well, right? Look at like how our age science, our science industry is proceeding. The peer review process is not perfect, right? That we have to, it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of resources that go into it. It's the same thing. How do you verify if the studies are real? You have to cross-check across laboratories all across the world. Similarly, tracking the supply chain for, say, your food. How do you know if your beef is, or your meat or your poultry is actually free range or it's organic, right? Same thing, right? It's the same thing we have to verify. So I think ultimately, yes, the technology is one end, but at the other end, we have to find a way to reinvent the incentive structure in a way that it automates and incentivizes people to be to help to, like, as Shaunik mentioned, to actually come in to run it as a job almost, right? So yeah.
And what your projects and companies are specifically doing for that? Like anything in certainly you think like our efforts are onto this specifically for the like I know that what it is doing on the surface, but what do you feel are some exclusive and very sharp steps or concrete steps which are being taken by you guys in this segment?
Ian, you can take that up first if you like.
Yeah, awesome. So I think that's the reason why
Chonik is like, let me open our front page. What have we written?
I'm not
Nah.
that new to the company yet, Prakash.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the whole reason why we call ourselves an ecosystem, right? So we work with like projects like Mira as well to make sure that we have a very robust infrastructure to make sure that everybody that as much of the players that come into the Gaia ecosystem, everything has some form of verifiability to it. But ultimately, we also, because our reward structure within Gaia, um, create some form of an economy or a market that automatically dispels the unverified or the unqualified outputs, right? The quality of the outputs, the accuracy of it, the market automatically dispels it sooner or later. So I think keeping an open economy, making it decentralized, making it open source, that's one of the whole reasons why we exist, right? So I mean, we let the market decide by itself, but we also bring partners like Mira as well to add to that extra layer too.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And I think what I'd like to talk about here is where we sit, right? Like, for example, Gaia is more on building the agents out, whereas we come in the output generation stage, right? And at that particular stage, I think one of the biggest problems that we're tackling is with regards to hallucinations and biases, which are inherent in a lot of the LLMs today. So when we think about hallucinations itself, right? Even our best models of ChatGPT o3 can hallucinate anywhere between 0 to 27%. Now, there is no one model that anybody can always depend on to give you the right answers every time. And that's something that we talk about in our white paper as well, right? That how we've built a consensus mechanism with a proof of stake involved over there. So our consensus mechanisms make sure that the output generated by one model is checked against by two or three other models as well. And these answers are then scored, and the model, if they generate a wrong answer, are actually their stake is actually slashed. So this is the sort of incentive model that we've built in to make sure that the models are also, or the nodes are incentivized to always try to produce the right answer to the best of their knowledge. But in case they don't, there are fail safes to make sure that the other models will point that out, and the model would then have to relearn and regenerate the information. So we're tackling both the problems through this as to how to incentivize the models the right way, and boost the accuracy of the answers as well. So far, and we've been posting about our results, but so far we've seen a huge jump, right? Our models are able to achieve like what used to be 70% accuracy to now almost 96% accuracy across use cases. So I think this is how we've sort of approached the problem that we have at hand.
So I have a follow-on question because I just wanted to kind of jump in and I think I have already asked this from Karan and when we also met. I would love to kind of hear that out again so that other people can also understand that. So if you guys know that, so LLMs always produce non-deterministic answers. So essentially, what does that mean? It will never give you the same answer again and again if you ask it. It may
Yep.
do it sometimes, but it might not do it always. So you cannot determine the output of what is the LLM. But what we are discussing here is that we are going to be verifying the output of the LLM, ensuring that the answer is right or wrong, right? Now imagine if I ask a very simple question, like that question could be anything, like around addition, multiplication, or generally we are not going to use addition. We are going to be asking um, some knowledge-oriented questions, which might be, let's say, if a doctor is using that application, asking a very deep patient-related question or some kind of a medicinal-related questions, that could have a very different output of one agent versus another agent, which is highly specialized and which is generalized, right? Now, how do you guys like ensure that when we work on systems like this, which is completely non-deterministic in its output, because that's how we at Spheron we were also like struggling the same thing because compute also works in the same way. You don't know how many like it's a heterogeneous market. Like compute is a. It's like you have a lot of type of compute which are available, and but for us at least we have some restrictions to block it. Like only these kind of compute can come into the network, this cannot, and that's how we reach to a deterministic nature of it. Okay, and that's how we verify it. But how about you guys? Like, how do you do that? How you're planning to do it? Or is that already implemented? So just curious to kind of learn that. And also our audience also, they would also love to learn it as well.
Yep. Sure. I can go here first. I think, even if you've kind of seen what Anthropic posted a couple of weeks ago as to how they think LLMs work, right? They released a whole report or a white paper on this. And they spoke about this in great detail, right? Like how LLM output is non-deterministic, it's more probabilistic. And, effectively think about it this way. It's LLMs are, predictors of what the next word should be, right? And then they kind of build that over and over again, and every time you regenerate it, it starts following a different sequence of what the next word should be. Now, when it comes to a lot of use cases, like especially when you think about content generation, right? This actually works because this can then develop multiple variations. Accuracy is not top of mind for a lot of people who are consuming this content, or even producing this content, right? That content has to meet the bars of verification of either the creator or the reader. But like you said, in use cases like healthcare, in financial services, where there it's a pretty deterministic answer of what you should be doing. It should be either yes or no. Fair. So I think what verification helps from here is, and in our exercises also in testing our own product and trying to work on these use cases, we found that sometimes LLM hallucination is not just about getting something like wrong. It's also about LLMs have this nature of producing facts to convince you that they are right? Just to prove or back up their own point, sometimes they will produce answers and connect two data points that are seemingly similar or like in the same line, but don't exactly match with each other to make it sound like a fact. I think that is where verification of even deterministic answer becomes a very important fact, right? Like you can't take a number there and another quotation of what may or may not be and create an absolute fact out of it. So I think
Yeah,
that's where
but again, I'm coming back again. I think that's we lost in between, or I might have lost in between. So the thing which I'm trying to understand here is that very simple. Is like what we have discussed. If the answer is yes or no, again, it also depends. Okay, because if you are using, let's say somebody, how we achieve, and that's how kind of what I kind of learned from you guys. What you guys do internally is like if we have, let's say, 70B model. Just let's take example, right? You run the same 70B model in different GPUs. That's one thing. That's one layer of like how you kind of understand like what is the fast output depending on like optimization techniques and everything. It may change its answers, right? The model can remain the same. It can still be 70B, but it might give you the answer no, right? So how will it, the thing which I'm trying to understand here is on the, are you guys verifying the things on the answer level, or is it just something that, okay, so this model has generated the output, this is what the verification basically proves to be? Because that's what I'm trying to understand here. Is like, are we trying to say that the answer which is getting generated, that is being generated from the same model or not? Or the answer which is being generated, then it is getting validated with 10 different models to ensure that it is giving this right, because these are two different
The
things
yeah, Prashant,
on
the latter,
the
right?
latter one.
We're
Okay.
not trying to the latter. We're not trying to prove whether the answer generated is being generated by the right model that you asked it for or not. I think that comes
Okay.
under the purview of a lot of other, companies like Hyperbolic have models that are doing that, right? That's proof of,
Yeah.
say, model verification as such. Here, we're focused purely on the proof of output verification. That is the output that has been generated, whether the no is actually a no based on the input that has been provided, right? The input
Got it.
information as well as the prompt. Is a no actually a no, or is it actually a yes? That's the verification part that we work on.
Got it. So essentially, then you basically ask 10 different models the same thing. If they respond the same, we receive the consensus. If not, then it's not a consensus which has been received, and we pass that output to the end user.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you can
Nice.
think of it in a very focused way as well, right? Like, for example, people using RAGs or knowledge graphs, you feed that also as an output, and even within that, models can hallucinate. So, even in a smaller subset of data, models have the tendency to hallucinate, and our job is to verify whether the actual output given is accurate based on everything that is given as the input.
Amazing. I do have, by the way, tons of questions which I'll ask later
Sure,
around
sure.
the around the, because it's a very curious topic for me. It's like I have always been into like just trying to get my idea around is like how it can be happen, because on the, if you look on the mathematical sense, it doesn't make sense to kind of verify it, because if you okay, the probabilistic answers will always keep on changing on the scales, right? Which is coming out. So it becomes. But again, we'll keep on asking this question. I think these are very important things also to mention, because that's what you mentioned. That's the reason I pointed out that you guys do the output verification. But yeah, I'll
Yeah,
pause it.
yeah.
I'll pause it.
For our viewers, stay tuned for deep dive with Mira in the next episode. I'm just deep diving on tech with Mira would be on your screen pretty soon. But coming back to
One more question to both of you guys. Um, Again, it's again a curious because it's a data session. I just want to ensure that it's more of a communicative way, and I'm trying to clear my mind with whatever people might be having questions around. Um, so if you look at whatever you guys have just spoken so far, there are two things which is going to be very interesting to look into. Where are these models will be running and who will be running it? That's the first question. Second question is that do you guys really, and be very transparent on this, as I'm trying to ask as much understanding, like where do you see community contributes at scale, like apart from just going on a console and asking tons of different questions, what are the other ways you look at community like to kind of like do it? Third, and the most important thing is like where do you see the decentralized compute ecosystem fit into all of these things, and how do you see it adding the value into any of these things which you guys are building? I know it's three
Yeah.
questions, but
Yeah.
anyone
I mean,
can pick it up.
yeah, I think regarding the community side, I mean, for us, we are a decentralized inference network, right? So I think ultimately we have a couple of different stakeholders within our community that we break down, the different personas. So of course we have the developers and builders, the one that everybody is clamoring for, developers building projects, building AI applications, building businesses on top of this potential new era of technology, right? So that's definitely one of them. So they are definitely going to be creating use cases and applications that make use of the new models or the new trained data, for example, right? That's one. Secondly, are IP owners. So, for example, we have a partnership with UC Berkeley, and the professor actually trains his own model on his own private data, which he doesn't want to be leaked into the centralized model. So he just have to spin up a node, create a domain on Gaia, and then train the model with his 20 years of materials, which he keeps teaching over and over again over 2 decades, right? So he wants to create an AI agent version of himself to scale his knowledge to the global south, for example, right? So I think IP owners is definitely also the second type of stakeholders that are looking at the community that can create value. The third kind is, like you said, the compute providers and resource providers. So that's where we definitely need, because it's a decentralized method nature, we are actually looking for, I think we also have spent a lot of efforts onboarding node operators and people contributing resources to power the network. So that will be the third kind of stakeholders. So they're all driven with different, I would say, different goals, objectives, but they're all rewarded with the Gaia network's token moving forward. So that's the whole thesis of it. Yeah.
Got it. So what you're saying is that essentially on the bottom side, the reason I asked the compute question is because one thing is to generally what happens in Web3 is that if you look around yourself is like I look, I'm a solution guy just for everyone's knowledge. Okay, so I look at more the world more on a very foundationally anything. Okay, so if anyone just comes and says that okay, we are building a decentralized inference layer over AWS, that's not what it is. Okay. And so that's the reason I just wanted to like kind of bring that in, is to kind of like know is like where do you guys see, and that's where our thesis also is like at Spheron is like the core focus and thesis is that if we want Web3 to remain Web3, we have to build the systems in a way which are not foundationally flawed, right? And that's where I have a very high respect for ETH ecosystem currently in this space, and also now I think Solana is also doing a very good job, and the Bitcoin. They have foundationally one thing which is very crazily built good is that their node infrastructure is not at all powered by one centralized company. Like currently, Ethereum nodes are currently hosted around 20% of their nodes are on centralized servers, but most of the other remaining 80%. So that brings, and that's where I'm coming back to you, Shaunik, like from Mira angle as well, like because if you don't do that, like if you because I was trying to get into, and I know a lot of people might be also interested in to run the Mira inferencing nodes and all of those stuff down the
Yeah.
line. Yeah. So what are your because if we allow, and this I don't know if I should ask this question, take question to you or not, but I'll just anyways throw it out.
I'll do my best job, the best of my knowledge. Happy to
Yeah.
take a shot at it.
It is essentially if you look at on the compute side, like if you're talking about verification, right? So for you guys, let's say generating the output of all of those things, you have to also ensure that these verifications or these nodes are not just owned by one single entity in the world, or else
Yep. Yep.
it will be like they will shut down tomorrow and the Mira will be gone, right?
Yep. Yep.
So what you guys are looking at to make that happen, and it should not happen in this way.
Yeah. I think, like Ian said, right, we also run a node delegator program. So we have multiple partners who are delegating their nodes and building on top of Mira in and of itself, right? And that's one of the key reasons that it's a crypto company first in terms of kind of building the core technology on top of it. Another key area of sort of us using the blockchain is also that every time an inference is run, right? And Prashant, you or Prakash and Ian at some point of time will probably ask an LLM the absolute same question, right? Across all the research and across all the things that you use it for. Now, every time the three of you individually ask these questions, the answer has to be regenerated. The inference has to be done again, right? So this is also a key place where we use blockchain, where we also digitally, like we break these questions, the inputs and the outputs into like atomic claims, which are digitally signed and stored on the blockchain, so that the next time Prashant and Prakash ask similar questions, right, and which has pretty much the same level, same kind of output, then we don't have to regenerate those outputs, right? And blockchain technology here is the core feature that makes this absolutely possible, right? In any way, technology wise possible. So I think to your question as such, yes, it's a little bit more on the technology on the compute side that I probably won't be able to answer, but at least in terms of the power the blockchain allows, it's making sure that the node delegators keep the system honest. And at the same time, the blockchain technology, the base layer of the blockchain technology also acts as a layer where we don't have to increase compute by when we scale on users, in the same proportion.
Got it. Thank you,
Uh,
Sonic.
yeah.
Ian, do you want to add something to that? Oh, you good? You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll also
So,
pause here.
no, but this has
become-
been pretty good. Like I feel most of the streams and
I think
spaces which happens.
we all should do some kind of a whiteboarding session. I think that's where Web3 needs to understand that just attention on the Kaito is not everything. You also have to understand the things fundamentally, and that's where these guys
Damn,
are doing amazing job.
Kaito gods
And we-
don't hear to this.
No, that's very important. That's also very important. But again, that's the this core thesis is that are we building for something better, or are we just building for some attention, right? So I think that's where we have to differentiate, like foundational entities versus non-foundational entities. The foundational entities they take years to reach where they are, while non-foundational is like it's a it's a curve which we have already seen in crypto. But yeah, I'll pause here. Prakash, you can ask.
Speaking
we
of, yeah, Shawnee, go ahead.
I was just saying, along with Kaito gods, now we also have cookie monsters all over our.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just launched today. Yeah, like everybody is creating their bubble, and they're literally telling it's a bubble. So yeah, apart from Kaito and Snaps, which is obviously a good addition to the ecosystem, and speaking of narratives and new things which is happening, so there are different walled gardens for agents, right? Like when I say walled gardens, are specifically a set of liquidity, specifically a set of region, where there are agents being created, launched, and that's an economy, and there is nothing happening around that. Do you think that there is a level of market verification or anything apart from those gardens? And I'll tell like what kind of gardens. Like if you just say Solana, there are things which is happening in Solana on a level where there are multiple projects getting created, the AI agent things coming up. Also similarly for base, also similarly in virtual's ecosystem as well. So there are different ecosystems, but they are a silo themselves. But projects like Gaia, Mira, and Spheron has the possibility to work with all of them. So how do you guys feel that how would you bridge that gap as a project? Like how would you allow them to actually explore out of that garden?
Um, I think at least the core belief at Mira is that, we're also not 100% just crypto focused, right? The idea for us has always been that the technology that we're building, and this is the case with AI agents across even the Web2 ecosystems and across all the other ecosystems, is that they're still, most of them are still in the very POC stage, right? Because in order to become large scale production ready, some of these inherent problems with the LLMs have to be solved, which are the hallucinations and which are the biases that are inherent in these systems. Even in Web 2, like, there's a lot of noise and a lot of companies being funded left, right, and center, right? But many of them are still at a very application layer or at a very proof of stage layer when it comes to the agents. Not a lot of large companies or even core industries are able to launch it at scale at this particular point of time. So we're kind of building a product that kind of just doesn't, it transcends these economies, right? It's kind of for everybody. So we don't have any specific plan that we want to work on base wall garden agents or Solana wall garden agents. We're building a technology that permeates both into the Web 2, Web 3 world, and that's how we're thinking about building Mira at this particular point of time. It's just when these agents do become production ready, they must be running Mira.
Yeah, similarly
And
for Gaia
what
as
about
well. Yeah, for us, we are chain agnostic. Yes, we are built on Web3 principles in terms of the keeping open source, keeping decentralized, rewarding different parts of the community with an embedded rewards infrastructure. But then beyond that, we're chain agnostic, right? We work with all chains. We have different protocols. We actually let the community and the builders themselves decide what is the best toolkit that they decide to use, and then we just allow them to easily just create and spin up a node and to embed and integrate as and when they can let us know what they want, and then we just allow the integration. Yeah, that's our approach as well. Very similar.
Yeah, one more thing here is that we have, I know somebody from like, I think there's a very good question Sam has asked. He said like, are we taking a live question or not? But the question which he asked, I think it's the same thing which we are discussing here. So I think I would love to kind of like take your POVs on it. Is that what he basically asked is very very simple question, is that how the like how the Web3 is merging or leveraging the AI tech currently. Very, very, very good question. So I'll start with me first, because that's where but I'll more because it's the question, Sam, which you have asked is like very, very broad in terms of like what you are like looking for, because Web3 is broad, AI is broad. So we'll narrow it down to our expertise and how we are basically leveraging AI tech currently at Spheron, or even how we are merging Web3 with AI. So in the AI, the foundation layer is the GPU, CPUs, or whatever, right? So what we are currently working on is like how we can make these GPU and CPUs more accessible readily out there in the market. When I say that, that basically means that today, if you go to any marketplaces, they are completely centralized. When I say centralized, it basically means that if you have a compute today, you cannot contribute that compute out of the box, because they have a lot of these restrictions, checks, tons of different things. There are routing, it's insane amount of effort which you will put into. But what if you have a network or a marketplace as a protocol where you just go and attach your compute and sell that compute to anyone you wish to? Okay. When I say you wish to, it's a very, very important thing. In the freedom, in the free life, in the world of freedom, we don't realize this word where you have a free choice, right? So that free choice and all of the stuff, it's a a lot of people are going to realize it, and there are people who are realizing it also, is that some things where we have a concept of vendor lock-in and all of those things comes into the picture. It doesn't happen with Spheron and Web3 like the way we are kind of building the GPU marketplaces. That's one thing. Second thing, now just because of the AI, we are able to create transaction. Let's say, just imagine for a second, you give an agent a private key or whatever, smart wallet or whatever, and then that smart wallet is connected to Spheron, and it can just execute transaction on base or wherever we are currently like live, and it gets the compute from the marketplace without any question asked. Just imagine the insane level of innovation can kick into the picture just by utilizing these two. And I'll give you a very classic example. You can build a fully autonomous AI agents without involving any human beings into it. You can create a full proof, system proof, warm systems, and all of the systems to kind of like traverse around the globe, find out which node is working fine, which node is not working fine. There are tons of things which you can basically build by combining these two tech. Now, I always get this question always, is that, bro, the same thing you can also build in Web 2. And I tell them one thing is that just go and build it. You'll realize it, what I'm saying here. So the reason is because in Web 2, you have a lot of OpEx, operational cost. Like if you have to go in any country, attach compute, procure compute, there are tons of legal jurisdiction which comes into the picture. But with the decentralized systems, you don't have all of these issues. You open the protocol, you make it public, people can contribute, you do federated learning, you do federated training, you do federated inferencing, you do private inference, you do whatever you wish to, right? Nobody cares. But you have a choice. Like you go ahead and do that. And that's how we are merging the Web3 tech along with giving the AI power to go and do whatever it wishes to, without utilizing any kind of API key models. So that's what our take on Web3 merging AI, Sam. But I'll hand over these two guys also. They are also doing amazing work. So I'd love to hear their POV.
No, I think I want to just answer the one that's on the screen, right? That Sam says that he's seen a lot of tech founders deeply into Web3 metaverse now jumping ship into AI now. Sam, everyone, like, look at every other SaaS founder, they call their company an AI company now. So it's not a Web3 metaverse thing. It's pretty much everyone, any founder at this point of time says that they're building an AI company.
I think it's going to happen to every business out there. Like, it's just
Yeah.
not like why it's not Web3. It's every business is out there. Like, you see from a newsletter to a to-do app to anything to my fucking washing machine. Like who asked for
That's
AI in
also
that?
AI.
I literally saw someone selling a screen guard that said AI enabled.
Yeah, I think they who put that? I think
I think that's a very understand this. Like you're as a founders, and again, I'm telling from more of a founder POV. It's the Web3 metaverse now jumping into ship. That's not called jumping into ship. That's called pivoting into. In the word of, if I have to basically put it in a very right way, when you don't understand that there is not a very big market to kind of consume into. And I think metaverse, I have never been the fan of metaverse stuff. This is the reason, is because my eye pains whenever I get into any of those things. So uh, we might be like far behind to those days. So I was not even bullish at all, and I have never invested in anything into metaverse ecosystem space. But again, it's a tech, and we have to embrace the tech as such. They have been doing, and I firmly believe that down the line, when our next generation come into the picture, they would want to get into metaverse, because then what will happen is that the nature which we don't have today, that nature will be readily available on digital world. You can go and watch those digital world, because we are anyways burning down our nature, right? So I think that's where metaverse comes into the picture. And I'm saying it's a very bold thing which I've just spoken. Just think about it. And that's where metaverse will come into the picture. No other places. Like, you don't have friends in real life, you go and make the friend in digital. What the hell is that, right? So,
Mom, I
don't
have
know
a
if you-
girlfriend in metaverse. I
I
want
don't know if you guys,
make him meet her.
I don't know if you guys have watched that movie or read the book Ready Player One.
Yeah.
that's what. Insane.
That's the only metaverse I want. Like, when that's ready, wake me up. From wherever. Then I'll be ready for
That
metaverse.
That's insane. But again, just to like summarize, Ian, if you want to add anything, if not, then I think Prakash can jump into. I
Yeah,
think we have
sure.
answered the same questions.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, just very quickly, I think Web3 and AI, they are symbiotic. They both need each other. I think they both complete each other in terms of their evolution or their final form. Very similar to mobile phones and mobile applications. Without apps, the mobile phone won't take shape. Without mobile phones, there won't be any mobile application. So similarly for that, right? So I think for us internally, use cases side, if you're a builder on the stream, interesting use cases and verticals that we're seeing is DeFi and SocialFi, especially within Web3. Reason being, Web3 moves at a speed where it's humanly impossible to keep up, regardless of how many people you hire. The trends are changing. The amount of data points, the amount of like data that you need to consume is very different. Analyze is a huge ton of data, and the speed at which they are moving is very crazy. So you have to use AI for it. So the use case of AI for Web3 is very, very strong, right? So similarly, on the other end, without Web3, again, I drive it again, is that I don't think AI should exist without in its decentralized form, outside of its decentralized form. So similarly, to actually unlock the true transparent use of AI, you need to have blockchain. So again, that's why I say that it's a symbiotic relationship. Both of them complete each other. They both would then become one single thing. And in future, there won't be a blockchain company or AI company. You just be a company, right? You don't hear people saying I'm a mobile company now, right? I'm just a tech company, right? So same internet, mobile, AI, blockchain is just going to be all fused together, and then we just unlock different use cases, different value propositions, different markets, for example. That's just my belief, lah.
Yeah, and by the way,
Yeah,
there is one more metaverse company which I know they have introduced AI into their metaverse. So and you know what? No, it was a crazy example I've seen. So what they were doing is that I would love to shout out them also like down the line. I don't know like if I have to tell their name here or not because they were building something very cool. But what they were doing is that they were utilizing the AI to generate real time rendering of what you are thinking. Right. For example, imagine if I am thinking currently, I
pink
should be
elephant.
at yeah, think elephant or think go to I'm currently in beach, right? Or this, then it just re-renders the entire view around you. Um, basically, like creates that persona because now AI has that like reasonability, right? And that's very important for because as a tech founder, what we used to how we used to achieve the reasonability is by putting if and else statement, right? If it happens, this you do this. If that happens, you do this, or switch statements, right? But now the same thing can easily be achieved with the same reasonability without even writing a single piece of a code, just calling LLM, and you can still achieve the same reasonability like without even putting any of those statements. And that really shook me off because then it's insane, right? Just imagine you just wear a headset or you go into some metaverse and then you start thinking about something and it creates your imagination as a movie and you export that movie, put it forward and just sell it in the open market. Like it's gonna be crazy insane, and like I can't even imagine how metaverse can basically reimagine the entire like thinking process. Like for example, for me, like if I want to create my own childhood memory today,
Mm.
and if I want to go and build that story around it, how would I like kind of gonna do it? So that's the thing which I kind of like very like would love to go and pay for those things for metaverse and kind of use it.
No,
But
but I
again,
think it's just gonna be free, right? Ultimately, it's just I think metaverse doesn't have to be this immersive like Ready Player One type of
yeah,
environment where we put on the goggles to go in. Everything
yeah,
like in future, even our mobile phones, even our website. I think there's a company that actually programmatically changes the website
Yep.
based on your shopping behaviors and your preference. So in future, everything that we interface online, even like in billboards and everything with image capture, everything, our world will be customized, right? It doesn't have to be
yeah,
like in terms of like just the radio player one, but 100%. I think, but I feel that it's gonna be free because that's just gonna be. It's just
yeah. And
I
that's
think
where we are gonna
it's,
need.
yeah.
That's where we are gonna need Miras and you guys like our compute,
Verifiability.
inference, agents, and everything
Yeah,
to make it work. See, this is this
I
this all
think
works together.
I think both of you have described great scripts for a Black Mirror episode. Especially
Well, then,
especially Prashant.
Is it? Is it like? Is
I
it?
think yeah, like
I'm
Black
not
Mirror
involved.
episode are the premise of Black Mirror episode is something so out of the world and so crazy that it's insane. It's insane. But Sam, you're
But
gonna get back to your questions specifically. I think Sam has a set of few questions. I think Prashant can take them uh, off the stream. But this has been great, guys. Honestly, we have reached our 45-minute mark, and honestly, this very light-hearted stream, and this is what the whole POV of these streams are to actually tell about what projects are building. Now, this is gonna be like a 30-second pitch for you. Anything you want to add from your end, and anything specific like what Gaia, Mira, and Sferon are doing. And Prashant, you can go first, and Ian and Shaunik, you can go post that. So yeah, guys, please go ahead. Please tell about what you're building, what we should like, what's upcoming from you guys, and we should focus on. So yeah, over to you guys.
Yeah. So from our side, we are building the world's largest community power data center. What does that mean? That basically means like anywhere, anyone from anywhere around the world can contribute to the compute, and anywhere around the world can access those compute without us in between. So essentially, we are making this entire process of accessing the GPU capacity, CPU capacity at scale without any frictions. You can program it, you can do whatever you wish to. You want to like play with it, just go and do that. You want to host your own private LLMs, you can do that. You want to do federated learning, training, tons of different things. You are free to go ahead and do it, and we don't restrict you. That's one thing. Second thing is that Spheron is fully modular. So essentially means that let's say tomorrow Mira, Gaia, and anyone launches their token. Now, if they want to bring their token as a utility on the compute side, they can essentially leverage Spheron as such directly to bring that as well. So essentially, then we just wanted to because bottom line foundationally, compute is going to be the credit for anyone. And those credits can easily be wrapped via Spheron ecosystem. So that's what we do at scale at Spheron.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm Ian. I'm heading ecosystem at Gaia. So what we are is we're an open source decentralized inference network for anyone to actually create, deploy, and monetize their AI agents, autonomous AI agents, or even their own data sets. So for us, we're looking for any AI agent builders, any AI businesses, startups that want to be building on a sovereign manner, or any private data owners that want to monetize your data for other developers. Do check us out. You can spin up a node relatively easily, create a domain, and builders will be able to access your data or access your application or your trained models in a way that you don't risk like losing the IP or leaking into a centralized model, right? So you can hit me up. I think probably my Twitter is going to be there for the stream. Then I'm running a couple of different ecosystem programs, so let me know where you're at, and I'm happy to support you wherever you guys are at in your life cycle.
Yeah, and Ian, on stream, when are you taking GPUs from us for inferencing?
That one I need to. I'll make a call to Matt.
This is like the hardest question ever. Ask business question on this stream on the call and make them say yes. Sending you the NDA.
You cut out Prakash. I didn't really quite.
Oh my signal just dropped off.
But
Okay,
Shawnee.
I'll quickly go as well. I think we probably existed in the middle of what both Speron and Gaia are doing, which is producing the verified inference layer. So Mira is building a decentralized consensus engine for LLM outputs. So far, we've really been able to rank up our accuracy rates all the way up to 96%, and the process is essentially breaking down your inputs into atomic claims, running them through multiple LLMs in our consensus engine, and providing you a fact-checked and the most accurate output possible. I think in terms of what to look forward to, I think we do have a couple of product updates coming out soon. And anybody who wants to start using the Mira SDK along with their AI agents, and if you're building AI agents on Gaia, you can also use our LLM and use our SDKs to start building verified outputs on those AI agents. So yeah, that's the 0 to 1 on Mira network.
Amazing. And same question. I'm kidding. You guys are already working on the ecosystem with us. Thank you for supporting our tg.spheron.network campaigns, and supremely bullish on both of you. And thank you so much for being here, guys. Means a lot. And for next episodes, keep tuned. Follow Gaia, Mira, and Spheron. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. This has been an absolute pleasure. See you when we see you.